All right. Hope everyone's having a nice weekend. Weekend market update time. We're going to go through Bitcoin, high time frame, triple Q's, really high time frame, the monthly chart to show you something important there. SPX denominated in M2, so US money supply. The dollar is a relation to Bitcoin, 10-year yield, gold, and I think that's it. And maybe Bitcoin, Nvidia. There is a scenario where I see a Bitcoin dip before the parabolic move. And so maybe the Nvidia Bitcoin denominated in an Nvidia chart is telling us that. So I'll go through that quickly. Hope everyone is doing well. Reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving you my thoughts on the market. All the things I talk about could go up, they could go down, they could go sideways. Do your own education, and I am do your own research. I'm just doing this um, for education purposes. Okay, with that, the same chart that we've been presenting here for the better part of the last 4 or 5 months continues to be as bullish, if not more bullish than it was a few weeks ago. We got the move that we were looking for. We got the big push off of the region as we started getting closer to the cloud, as we started kind of consolidating under this 30-week. See that compression underneath it, right? Where folks are starting to get bearish. That's where we get the most bullish. Same kind of thing we saw here, compression under that 30-week, squeezing between that and the cloud. That's bullish. Same thing we saw back here, right? Squeezing between the cloud and the 30-week, that's bullish. It's not bearish, it's bullish. These are pockets that get rid of speculators and designed to, in my opinion, instill the most doubt before masking the intent before the big move. That's a better way to say it. Another thing I just don't see enough of is the respect of the entire structure, this reaccumulation structure. I feel like I'm the only one that really talks about this a lot, uh, where we just had the expression of one of the largest reaccumulation structures, cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. They're the same thing, whether it has a handle or not, or it's a rounded bottom, is irrelevant. That's just the way that the reaccumulation structure takes shape. And so we continue to look really, really good. And I've got a couple thoughts on, short-term price action. A dip here would be more than warranted where we are, something like that before the big move, the next big impulse. We could also be kind of consolidating in this vertical accumulation channel that really just chops people up before, we make a move, maybe something like that. Similar to what we saw, let me zoom in a little bit here. I went into this more with the members yesterday's video. A couple scenarios that look similar in time structure that I'm circling here, where we had a three dive, 1, 2, 3 dive pattern, and then an impulse, and then a check back. We had 1, 2, 3 dives, impulse, check back here would be more than warranted. And I'm looking to do something. I've got a plan in terms of a swing to compound if we get that. On contrast, 1, 2, and then we have our move up here where, this is just a vertical accumulation channel. I could also see that scenario unfolding here before, our ABC and move out. It doesn't matter. Either way, patience, I believe, will be rewarded. We'll continue to kind of monitor the progress there. Qs, triple Qs. Monthly chart, folks. This is going back to November 2009, this secular bull cycle. And I've got the 30-month simple moving average up. And what do we see here? As I said, the expectation should be, and I've said this since all the uncertainty, I said the expectation here needs to be a V-shaped recovery. That's what it needs to be because the evidence 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 shows us that that's the pattern here. That's the pattern, especially when you get a reaction like we got with this 30-month. Now, if we got a consolidation in and around this 30-month moving average, that would be a bearish type B wave signal. And so far, we've got the opposite. So again, I don't like entertaining bearish scenarios when everyone's telling me that we need to be bearish. In fact, it's always the opposite. You'll find with me, right? I'm going to get more bullish when there's more uncertainty, especially when secular technical indicators tell us that that's the way that we should be acting. And let me zoom in on this to show you what this looks like on a monthly chart. This is what I'm talking about, okay? This is what I'm talking about. Does it mean that tomorrow, next week, we just keep Ving and going doing this? No, doesn't mean that. We can get some volatility coming out of this, check back and something like that. I don't know. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. The SPX denominated in M2. Remember, I presented this chart 3 weeks ago, I believe it was. Again, everyone getting bearish and this isn't like a person that decides that, oh, this is going to get bid here, right? This is a market being made for the last 25 years, telling us that risk assets in the SPX denominated in M2 money supply, there's levels that have been respected as tops, okay, as caps, and that was broken out of November 2023, okay? And back to it, this is max bullish. This may be one of the greatest entries. It's funny, right? One of the greatest entries at one of the most uncertain times and fear. And I'm not doing that today, but I showed you the fear and greed indicators for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Why did I do that? I did that to illustrate what my expectations were, opposite of what positioning was, and look at this positioning now, right? Now in hindsight, and again, this isn't over, right? We could sure come back down, but I don't expect to retest. I don't expect this to get retested. This looks like a V to me, whatever shape that takes, but this is what I'm interested in participating in, much like we saw back in August 1996, folks, where the same setup presented itself, top respected by the market, blasted through almost 20 years later, back test, and then it was off. And so this continues to look exactly how we'd expect it to look. That's why I posted the chart. The dollar continues to kind of do what we've been forecasting it to do after we saw this upthrust, and we called it an upthrust. We were expecting down, mark down, and now we're under this macro range. And so consolidation here completely warranted. I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw, check back into the bottom of the range and a sign of weakness type B wave or 4 prior to another move down. I don't know. I don't care. That's just more speculation than anything. If we're looking at Bitcoin, let me get Bitcoin. Let me get Bitcoin in view here. What has Bitcoin done? What has Bitcoin done during the last 2 marked down phases in the dollar on a high time frame? Well, it's right here. This is what I'm illustrating. At this phase where we marked down the last 2 times on these macro high time frame ranges, Bitcoin did a 7x, Bitcoin did a 5x. And here we are now at wherever we are on Bitcoin 95.4. And everyone's expecting, I'm sure, diminishing returns, right? 7x, 5x, and so it has to be a 3x, it has to be a 2x, right? It's that easy. My Uber driver told me that the other day, right? Diminishing returns. So I'm sure everyone's going to be right on that, right? So we'll continue to keep an eye on this, but transpiring exactly how we kind of saw this coming into the last few weeks. 10-year continues to behave like we've been forecasting it to behave, right? I called this here failed breakout, head and shoulders, right? I was looking for the right shoulder. We got it. We're now below the 30-week. Check back to the bottom of the 30-week. This is a sign of weakness to a last point of supply to me. The next big move on yields, I mean, we could come up a couple, percentage points. But I'm expecting the next big move into the summer to be down on yield. So however that transpires on a high time frame, that's kind of the view on yields for me. Gold. Gold is Gold, I don't know. I don't know what gold's going to do here. We could have put in the local top like I talked about a couple weeks ago. But again, this is a monthly chart on gold. RSI is still really elevated. I mean, look at where we are, 82 on a monthly RSI. Wouldn't surprise me if we have another push on gold here, and also wouldn't surprise me if we corrected back into the 2800 range. Either way, I think the longer view on gold remains a lot higher than people think. And again, this is very similar to what I was trying to illustrate with Bitcoin, right? This is a massive reaccumulation structure. This is the consolidation after the reaccumulation in terms of an SOS, right? Sign of strength. Uh, and so what happens after a sign of strength? Expansion, phase E. And that's what we've seen here with gold so far. And these expansive phases can go on a lot longer and higher than people think. All right, last thing, Bitcoin, Nvidia. This may support on the high time frame the asymmetries with Bitcoin here. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion. Why do I say that? Well, this is a weekly chart, Bitcoin denominated in Nvidia, and what do we have? We have lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. We have our first kind of change in character here with a higher high. And we've got the first move into the cloud, breaking through the cloud that we had since when? Since November of 2020. What happened in November of 2020 to March of 2021? So those 4 or 5 months, what did Bitcoin do? That's the setup that's presenting itself right now to the tune of, in my opinion, 3x outperformance against Nvidia to as much as 6x in the next 6 to 12 months. But in the short term, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a little check back. There's nothing actionable here, folks, where we've got this bearish divergence kind of forming on the weekly, maybe a check back before a move up and out. That wouldn't surprise me either. So folks, that's the video. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. Look forward to more updates throughout the week for the members and the next week for everyone next Sunday. Take care.